My name is Rik Simpson. I am a record producer, mixer, songwriter, musician, jack of all trades, hopefully master of a few of them. I've been working on making records for the last 30 years. I guess I'm kind of most known for my work with Coldplay, who I've been working with since 2002. I was very lucky because when I was 15, I got a job in a big studio in London as a T-boy. They had massive Quested speakers, really well tuned, and they just sounded amazing. So I kind of learnt fairly young that monitoring is really important. The room was purpose-built for me, for my studio. I was restricted by the size of the room, and it's kind of the shape is a little bit of a box, but it kind of had to be. Obviously I've got panels on the ceilings and on the walls and diffusion and treatment going on. But it's not perfect. I think mainly because of the size of it and the fact that it is quite square. I was using software solutions for room management at that point, and it kind of helped a bit. It was, kind of made it workable. It wasn't, but the first time I heard it, there was a bit of a low frequency build up at the back of the room where you are. And there's a bit of a hole in the middle, but the listening spot it was fairly good. And with the software solution, it made a difference. And I did some great mixes actually off the back of that. I reached out to one of the companies that was making the software speaker management. They helped me get set up in Coldplay's room when I was based there. And I used that for a few years, and it was very successful. And when I moved here, I brought it with me. And again, it made a difference. But a friend told me about the Trinnov system, how much easier it is to have a hardware solution as opposed to a software solution, because with a software solution, it's taxing the computer, CPU. My mix sessions are always maxed out anyway. I'm always fighting for just a little bit more headroom on the computer processing power. So being able to take that out of the equation and use it for mixing and then have the hardware solution just made sense to me. And it sounds really good as well. It was definitely a step up sonically. With the software solutions, you kind of move around the room and it takes different readings for different places, but the Trinnov one is very sort of centric about where it's important, I think. I made it a little bit more complicated personally than I should have, because I've got barefoot speakers here with 3 different switches. You've got a flat one, you've got a smiley curve, and you've got a Auratone mode and a NS10 mode. I got Paul to do different models for each one, and he'll probably hate me for saying this. I don't really use any of them, I'll be honest. I only use the flat one because it does everything that I need it to do. It sounds great. I was in this room probably for 9 months before I got the calibration system in. It was a mix that I was doing. I can't even remember what it was. But I remember thinking how tight and focused everything was sounding. I was halfway through the mix, so I had the comparison in my head from before, when I first started doing the mix to when the system came in. Yeah, it was not only focused, it was also deeper and like immersive depth, which for me is very important. I think the whole 3D thing and throwing things farther back by use of reverbs or EQ just to make things go away from you, which leaves space for the things that need to be right here in your face. That for me was one of the main things that I noticed about the Trinnov. The center felt more isolated because everything else was pushed away from it. It wasn't like a cluster of stuff in the middle that was fighting for attention. I could position things a lot better by spreading them out and deeper. I thought there might be an issue with latency because I do a lot of playing in here. Luckily, it turned out that there hasn't been any problem at all. It's made no difference. I think the latency is so small and it's been great. I do think that it influences my workflow. I think it makes decision-making easier and quicker, particularly as I put the studio together myself. It's not like a professionally made room that's been there and has been there for 20 years and all these great records that come out of it. It's a room that I made myself. If you're taking sound seriously, I think monitoring is so important, and what you hear coming out the speakers, it is the most important thing. Beyond any sound sources, beyond buying a new synth, make sure your room sounds good. You know, even if it's egg boxes and cartons, you've got to get the sound of the room right before you can make any creative decisions. If I was starting again in the studio, the things that I'd buy first would be my speakers, the Trinnov, the panels in the wall and the ceilings, and my couch.